Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to a video for Riftbound, the League of Legends trading card games. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of League of Legends, but don't know really what it is. So, and I myself know, am in the same boat. I know of it. I have heard some of the characters. I bought some of the Funko Pops because they looked cool. And I bought the card game because I love card games. But I haven't played it before. But it's a MOBA. What is a MOBA? For definition, it's a multi-on-player battle arena. The basic idea is each player controls a side of the field. And then you're commanding your units or your characters to go across the field from side A to side B to your opponent's side to defeat their, in this game it's called a Nexus, which is basically their base or headquarters. And then as you're doing it, there's different pathways you can take. Each character has different types of powers and play styles. I have played other MOBAs before, so I know the idea of what a MOBA is. I just never played League of Legends specifically. So how does this translate into the card game? So if you're familiar with most other popular card games, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, which I know are all very different styles, you're going to at least have some idea of what this is. A lot of the terminology is going to be the same, but it does have its own play stuff, or even like newer games like One Piece and Dragon Ball Z and Loricana and stuff. So what these are here, these are champion decks. So each champion deck is the easiest way to play it. Has a ready to play one legendary champion. So it's picture on the box. This is your main person who you are playing as. And then the cards you are playing are basically the abilities and skills and other things they're doing to help you out. You have a 40 card deck, 12 ruins, 3 battlefields, and a paper playmat and instruction booster. That's also come with a booster pack as well, so it's kind of cool. So there's 6 different colors in the game. So your champion card, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time going over the full rules of the game, but I do kind of want to jump into just the brief idea of it. So each character is going to have a champion card, which will be a special different back colors. So we have some white ones, we have some blue ones that are your main deck, and your black is your champion. This will basically decide who you're playing as. It's going to say Legend. It's going to show 2 colors, which are the 2 colors your deck can be. So if you're kind of familiar with Magic the Gathering, this is going to be, not this card, but it's going to have a very similar idea of this as being like a commander. Because you're going to end up being able to take their specific champion units and play them as like a commander of the game. Become outside the zone to summon them whenever you want. So that's pretty cool there. If you're familiar with like Loricana or One Piece, this is like your main character that lets you, like One Piece, that lets you decide the color of your deck. So this is going to be a purple-red deck. The other thing, and then we're going to get a bunch of other special cards in here. We're going to get various units you can play. So other different characters are going to come in that have might. They're basically their health and how they play, and they try and help take over the field. You're going to have spell cards, which, like most games, you cast it and it goes away and does its thing. We are also going to have, if I can find one, we're going to have some gear cards, which are kind of like artifacts or item cards that kind of sit in the game and help you out until you use them. Then the other thing you're going to do is you're going to have battlefields. So we have 3 battlefields, which are also black cards, not to get them mixed up with your deck. And these are essentially what your opponent is trying to capture. So it just has some different effects on there. Each side, I believe, has the same text. It's just so that way your opponent can read what's on the card as well, so you don't have to keep trying to read your cards upside down. But yeah, you're going to have these 3 battlefields on the zone, and you're trying to play your units to these battle zones to capture them, control them so you can kind of move through, and then your idea is to score 8 points. Every time you capture or conquer a battlefield, you gain a point. If you can hold on to it for an entire turn, you gain an additional point. Although, just as a quick little subtle rule interjected here, is if you control a battlefield, if you conquer a battlefield, you gain a point. You can't move all your units off it and then go back and reconquer it on the same turn to gain another point and then hold it. You get 1 point for conquering it per turn. So there's only a couple of options there. Then we have the ruins, which are basically your mana or resource. So that you can put any I believe you have to have a certain number, I believe 12 of them in your deck, but you can have any style you want. So here they have half and half, but you could do lean more towards one color or 75% one color, 25 the other. And basically, so unlike Magic, and I'm sorry to keep comparing this to other games, where your land or your resource cards are in your deck and you have to find them, here these start out, so they kind of work a lot more like some of the more current games like One Piece and stuff, where your resources are always out on the table for you to spend when you need them. And then each turn you'll draw more. But there's a slight drawback to some of these. We do have some powerful cards that'll have little rune symbols on them. So if I play this card, I have to have 3 runes out to pay for it. But then I also have to put one red one of that symbol back into my deck. But at the beginning of every turn, you draw 2 new cards. So basically, it lets you play more powerful cards by limiting your resources, but you'll keep getting them back. So, very interesting. Like this guy costs 10, so it's going to cost quite a bit, but I have to sacrifice one. But then we have a bunch that don't cost anything. We even have some small ones that might cost something. So yeah, very interesting on how that works. Combat works very similar to like a game like Magic the Gathering. You'll move your characters to a battle zone to fight somebody else's characters. They will then compare damage to each other, deal damage at the same time. The slight difference is, and unfortunately, I haven't really shown the rulebook, which is one thing I normally do. The rulebook does kind of explain some of this stuff. It doesn't really explain the battle very well in here. I actually had to go look up on a Reddit stuff. It does explain to how it works. If you've never played a game like this, it's not the best. And I'm not going to go into all the details on everything. But more or less is when you go to attack, it's any units you have out all combine to be 1. So it's not... So this is where it is different than Magic, where it's not... I have 3 guys and you have 3 guys and you assign attackers and defenders. It's anyone that's on the battlefield is attacking anybody else. So the opponent has a guy that has 8 health and I have 2 guys that have 5 health each. I have a total of 10 power or might versus their 8. So my 10 will beat their 8, but then they get to take their 8 and deal it back to whichever one of my 5 they like, and then the additional 3 onto the other one. So they can kind of destroy who they would like to destroy. So again, it kind of does work with Magic if you have groups of guys all blocking each other, but it's always that way no matter what. But what you can do is you can go and attack, then you can come back, play some more cards. Maybe if you won that, conquered that battlefield, you can play guys right to that battlefield to prep for the next turn to help hold it. And then you can go back and do another battle. So you don't have to, it's not just a draw on the line, attack step, play cards, then attack step, then play cards, then game over. You can kind of go back however you want. So it says right here. So it says, turn of order, ready your cards. Beginning start turn abilities. Put 2 ruins for your deck onto the board so you have more resources. Draw a card. Then, in any order, you can play cards from your hand. Play your chosen champion for your champion zone, like your commander. Activate your card abilities. Activate your legends. Move 1 or more units to or from a battle, exhausting them. If you move to a battlefield that has enemies, so if you move to an empty one, you can take over it or start getting ready to prep to hold it. If you move to one there to defeat somebody else so they don't have a hold of it and they don't gain a point, then you start a battle. But again, you can move a guy in there to an empty one, you can move one, fight a battle. You can come back, play some more cards. You can play reactionary cards. It's very fun. There's a couple of like weird mechanic choices in here or not that happen. It says, structure of combat is you play any defend and win attack abilities, showdown involving players, action card. Game of 3+ players, only 2 players can be involved in a combat. But either of them can invite other players to play actions and reactions. So if you have like other people can come help you out and do stuff. Add up your might, deal damage to each other. Conquer call. If only attackers main, the attacker conquers the battlefield and scores a point. Otherwise, the surviving attackers are sent back. First player to 8 points wins. By holding at the start of your turn or by scoring on all battlefields in a single turn. So it's a very interesting way to end. You either have to already have a thing conquered or you have to score all battlefields. So it does kind of make the game interesting in that sense, is that you can't just win one extra match at the end of the turn. There's some other different terminologies in here. Recycle, channel, putting tokens into play for the battlefield. So there's only ever going to be 3 battlefields on there, so I start with each. So you already selected 1 battlefield for each player. Now determine the starting player by shuffling selected battlefield. You choose 1 at random. That battlefield's owner goes first. Yeah, so very interesting. And that's basically how you set up your board. Your champion unit, and your cards down there. Alright, so that's just kind of the basis of the game. We'll kind of look at the cards. We'll get into some more stuff as we read through them. This is going to be a little bit longer video, because I'm going to go through all 3 of these and the booster packs in one video. So, apologies for that. Also in the box, you're going to get a little deck box, which is really cool. So you can stick your deck right in there. We'll get our booster pack with 14 cards. We'll open all 3 boosters at the end after we've seen what everything is in the set. Then that way you can kind of be like, hey, what would work with which one? And then we get our playmat, which I'm just going to kind of... Big old paper playmat, nothing extra special on it. So cool. Alright, so what do we have here for our decks? First of all, we have Jinx, who has, and I don't know the names of these colors yet, but we have a red and purple deck. We have Lee Sing, who has the yellow and green deck. And then we have Vitor with the, that's the orange and green, learn my colors here, blue and yellow. So I'm going to guess each color, kind of like most games, has a significant reason. Usually it's kind of like red is damaging, blue is tricky, yellow is kind of life, green tends to be little creatures, purple tends to be board manipulation, whereas blue tends to be like hand manipulation. So I'm not sure what orange will be, but again, this is just going from like previous other games. I think lots of times they try and stick with the same thing, just so that you're kind of used to that. But let's go ahead and jump into here. We're going to jump through Jinx's deck quick. All right, so we do have this cool foil on here. I like when they do foils a little bit different, where she's not foiled is kind of neat. Just kind of help her stand out. So we do have Origin Set. She's card number 250, 10298. Sugar Free is the artist. A little purple diamond on there. It has to be rarity. It does have your 2 colored symbols on there just to help keep track of that. She is a legend. Her name is Jinx. They put that on there because there'll be cards that reference her. Loose Cannon is the version of this Jinx, because in the core set there might only be 1 version of each legend, but there could potentially be more as the game goes on. At the start of your beginning phase, if you draw one if you have 1 or fewer cards in your hand. Cool. She just kind of keeps refilling her hand up. Alright, then we have our signature card. Does kind of shows a little red in there. We have the red border on there to help out. Cost 3, you have to spend 1. This is your champion unit. You can have up to 3 champion units. Actually, I think you can have up to 3 of any type of card in your deck. So I can have her in my deck, but I can have different other Jinxes in there as well. We only put, as far as I know, you only put 1 of them in there. So if I had 3 copies, I would put all 3 in my commander zone. She has a might of 4, which is her basic, essentially attack/health. She has Accelerate. You may pay 1 red as an additional cost to have the entered ready. So typically cards coming exhausted turn sideways, so you can't use them right away. There's Assault 2, +2 might while I'm attacking. Then when you play me, discard 2 cards. I really need a new gun, but don't tell my other guns. Yeah, so Assault 2 seems like a really fun ability. When she's attacking, she jumps up. Helps that, and she can attack right away. She can attack with 6 on her first turn, essentially. And when you play discard 2 cards, it works well with her champion, or her legend, because that way good. So it also has Jinx and Zaun. I'm not sure who Zaun is, or if Zaun's the name of the weapon, or if that's a group or a race. Again, don't know that much about. We do have another champion unit. We have V Destructive, which is being Piltover. She has Ganking. I can move from battlefield to battlefield. Recycle 1 from your trash to give me +1 health this turn. Punch first, ask questions while punching. That's funny. So Ganking is a special ability because normally you can only move from your battlefield to your base and then your base back. If you're at your base, you can't be attacked unless something has a specific ability to do it. But yeah, Ganking lets you move from battlefield to battlefield, so you can defeat something in one, then move to the next one. Recycle just means put a card or ruin from the bottom of the appropriate deck. So recycle one from your trash. So it's kind of a cool effect as well. Take a card from your trash or discard pile, put it back on the bottom of your deck, but you get one extra might this turn. That's not bad. We have a regular unit, but he is foil because he's still a higher rarity. Rasha the Sunder. Shadow Isles and Spirit. So I cost one less for each card in your trash. So neat. So Jinx kind of feeds into that by discarding what the other person goes against it. So interesting. Feeds well on death, but better on madness. The artist's name is Six More Vodka, which is very interesting. Alright, then we have 2 copies of Blazing Scorcher, a Noxious Dragon. So I think Noxious, I think some of them might be group types, and then like Dragons is like a subtype. Has Accelerate as well. Cool. So I think that symbol is always the red one. Alright, then we have 3 copies. It's just, I'm guessing these are all commons. That's what it looks like. As you get the little circles are usually commons. Flame Choppers. When you discard me, you may pay a red to play me. Okay, cool. So you can basically, if for some reason you have to discard, you can pay a red. So again, we had like, going back to the first Jinx card. When you play or discard 2 cards, you can play this and you can sacrifice one of your ruins by putting it back into your deck to, or pay 1 red. If you have 1 red, I guess you just have to tap it or exhaust it to play it. So it's kind of a neat idea. Kind of feeds into the discarding. We have 3 cards of Brazen Buccaneer, Bilgewater Pirate. As you play me, you may discard a card as an additional cost. If you do reduce my cost by 2, they call it my crew Scurvy Dogs. I took that personal. Neat. So again, you can team him up with the other guy. You can discard that other guy to make him cost 2, and then you can pay 1 to play him as well. So now here's another thing that's interesting about this game. It just has a lot of, I can do this, or you may play me, or reduce my cost, where the cards are referring to themselves. So it's an interesting thing. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Like in the future, it's going to cause issues with stuff, but it's definitely different. We have 3 copies of Fight or Flight. So this has a couple of interesting new mechanics on it we haven't seen. Let's have Hidden. Hide now for any cost to react now later with 0. So I guess what this means, you can pay any cost to play this face down, and then later you can flip it back up for 0. Now I don't think they mention the hidden ability in the book at all. Yeah, okay, it does a little bit here. Play this card face down on the battlefield, controlling your turn, then reveal it during a later turn, and play it for free. Maximum 1 hidden cards per battlefield. So that's kind of neat. So you can play a space down to hide it, and then later you can flip it up, but they don't know which card you have. It says action. Play on your turn or during showdowns. So this is the only, actions are basically the cards, it says when you can play them. The only time you can play actions is either on your turn, whether you're attacking, or doing anything else, you can play your actions, or showdowns, meaning when you're actually doing an actual battle. So you can't just play this card whenever during your opponent's turn. So it's kind of like an instant, but not quite. Move a unit from a battlefield to its base. So this could be helpful for you or against your opponent. You can move your guy back to your base to protect them. They're going to lose and I don't want to lose them. Bring them back. Or you could send one of your opponents back so you don't have to fight them. Very cool. We have 3 copies of Gust. Reaction, play at any time, even before spells and resolve abilities. So this is more of your instant. Use a unit at a battlefield with 3 might or less to its owner's hand. Again, You can always bounce one of your guys back using either coming to play effect, or you can bounce your opponent's stuff back. We have 2 copies of Undercover Agent. Death Nail. So discard 2 cards, then draw 2. When I die, I gain the effect. So these are kind of good sacrificial characters, even though knowing which side he worked for. Basically, if you throw them out and your opponent spends time to defeat them, you're going to potentially get 2 better cards. You still have to discard 2, but it might be beneficial to you. 2 copies of Get Excited. An action, discard 1. Deal its energy cost as a damage to a unit on a battlefield, ignoring its power cost. Everybody panics. This is a way that you can attack somebody outside of a showdown. But again, you can go on probably do it during a showdown, but you could attack them ahead of time, because if their might hits 0, then they're automatically defeated, or doing it during a showdown to reduce them during the thing. Very cool. We have a Magma Worm, Feljord. Other friendly units enter ready. Nice. That kind of helps you out. Keeping your guys so you can attack right away. Again, red, usually the direct damage, hasting type group. 3 Chem-Teching Forces. Assault 2. When you play me, discard 1 card. We have 2 copies of Cemetery Attendant. When you play me, return a unit from your trash to your hand. So, okay. So yeah, all these bronze ones are your commons, I believe. And now we're getting into uncommons, which are like silver bordered. And you have the little blue triangle. Raging Soul. If you discarded a card, we have 3 copies of these. If you discard this card this turn, I have Assault and Ganking. Cool. So again, gain bonuses for discarding. 3 copies of Traveling Merchant. When I move, discard, then draw 1. Payment first, refund never. 2 copies of Void Seeker. Action, deal 4 damage to a unit on a battlefield, draw 1. We have 2 copies of Fading Memory. Give a unit a battlefield or gear temporary. Kill it at the start of its controller's beginning phase before scoring. Nice. So then they might not have control anymore. That's definitely not a bad thing. And you can basically cast this whenever. So you can use it at the beginning of, so I can play this on my turn, and my next opponent's turn, I can go ahead and plan on getting rid of them, even if they don't do anything else. And then they might be more willing to throw it into battle or sacrifice it for something else, versus just letting it die. 3 copies of Scrap Heap. When this is played, discarded or killed, draw 1 card. The parts that didn't make it to the heap are the ones that didn't blow up. Awesome. So those are our basic deck cards. Then we have our battlefields. So we have Reaver Row. When you defend here, you may move a friendly unit here to base. Cool. So if you're defending, you can go ahead and pull one of your guys back if you're not going to win. Targon's Peak. When you conquer here, ready 2 ruins at the end of this turn. Nice. That preps you for your next turn then. And then we have Zorian Warrens. When you conquer here, discard 1 card and draw 1. Now, it's also notable on here is that these don't have colors. So they're all generic colors, so there's not like a red base or purple base. Alright, then the last cards we have 6 Fury Ruins, which are your red ones, and they have 6 Chaos Ruins, which are your purple ones. Now you have to have 12 of these in your deck no matter what, but again, you can mix and match. Now I don't know if in the future they are going to ever have special versions of these, or if they will always be just the generic colors. So again, kind of thinking like Magic the Gathering. Are they ever going to have like basic ones and then some that have special abilities that you want to play over your basic ones for some reason, but maybe they're limited to like 1 or 2 per deck so you can't go crazy with them. Or are they going to Or are they never going to change any of that? And you're always just going to have the same ones. Not for sure. Are they ever going to have dual ones? Who knows? Again, it could end up being sort of like One Piece and, I'm trying to think of the other game that's like that. Some other games like that have like the Dawn cards, the special cards out there are your resources, because this really plays a lot like One Piece for that reason. It keeps having your things that get reused and you bring them back out. But they're always the same. They did start making some with special artwork, which is really cool. Maybe they'll do that like this. You'll get some Chaos Ruins or some of the different ruins or some cool artwork, but they'll all still work the exact same. Just instead of having plain general ruins, they might have promo arts. Alright, let's hop into our second deck. We're going to look at the Lee Sin deck. So this Monk. And we'll see what we get there. So it's also fun. Just buying these decks is... unfortunately, buying all three of these decks, there's... other than the battlefields, there's nothing I can mix and match between them. Because you have to use those colors. So there's his deck box. So yeah, that's the only downside. I don't know if they make generic colored stuff so that things other than the battlefields you can mix and have more stuff mix and match in between things, or if it's always going to be a colored thing like Loracana and like One Piece and all that stuff. They use color codes. They only have colors that work in those one decks. Alright, so we have the Blind Monk. So we're going to name these ruins for this. We have the Body Ruin, and we have the Calm Ruin. Now, I don't know why, but when they put this deck together, they put 6 and 6. On the other one, they did one color, one the other color, back and forth. But there are 2 ruins. Kind of want to show them, get them out of the way. Alright, so what does our Latency Blind Monk do? He says you can pay 1 and exert him to buff a friendly unit. It doesn't have a buff, it gets a +1 buff. So buff is a permanent +1 might. I don't think you can have more than one of them on at a time. Again, sorry, I have to keep jumping back to the rule book here because I don't know this game that well. Yeah, by default, a unit can only have 1 buff. Further buffs are ignored. Some cards let you spend a buff to get an effect. You can spend a buff on any of your units. Plus, we might come across the word mighty. Some rewards have mighty units. A unit is mighty if it has 5 or greater. And then we have a stun effect, which does say this unit doesn't deal damage in this combat turn. Otherwise, other effects that may care about when units are currently stunned. Stun wears off at the end of the turn. Cool. And your might always goes back up at the end of your turn as well. But this is kind of neat. So every turn he could potentially spend 1 to give one of his guys an extra might. His signature unit. So that's one thing we didn't see in here that I didn't mention. Is our signature cards for these characters. They have special... do they show them in here? They have special abilities or special attacks that only they get. It mentions them, but it doesn't show any of them. Yes, I'm just going to look at this. Sorry, just interrupt this quick. You also include 3 copies of a signature card that matches your champion legend, usually a signature spell. Signature cards can only be included with their matching legend. Your legend, champion, and signature cards often point to a particular strategy. So you can have up to 3 signature cards, usually a spell. Could be a gear, could be a unit. Typically a spell card, though. For that character, and it'll have something with their name on there. But you can only have up to 3 total. So if you have 3 different types of the one, stuff like Latency has 3 different ones over the course of the game, you can have 3 of the same one, or you could have 1 of each, or some combination of there, but you can never have more than 3 signatures, period, regardless of the names. Latency is centered. Accelerate. May pay 1. Yellow is an additional cost to having anchor ready. So interesting. So each accelerate's going to be different based on the color of the card. Again, I don't know if there's any dual colored cards or not. Other buff friendly units at my battlefield have +2. Neat. So it's his whole thing. He spends that yellow to buff up his characters, and then when his actual regular self is out, he can make them all even stronger. We're also going to get Yurdar, Wild Man. Spend my buff. Choose one you've not chosen this turn. Deal 2 to a unit on the battlefield. Stun a unit on the battlefield. Ready me or give Jinx this turn. Interesting. So you can buff him up, and then you can spend that buff to drop his attack back down to do some extra things. And it's neat because it says choose one you've not chosen this turn. So you could potentially have him have a buff, spend it, let him do one of these things, exhaust your main guy, give him another buff, then spend it again to do a second one. You can get up to 4 times. That's cool. We have Mist Ball, which is a gear. When you buff a friendly unit, you may pay an orange to exhaust this to ready it. Nice. If you buff them, you can get them ready. Thousands of thwarted dreams ready to be lifted in you. Alright, we have 2 copies of Charm. Spell it so lets you move an enemy unit. There's no harm looking. We have 3 copies of Challenge. Action. Choose a friendly unit and enemy unit. They deal damage equal to their mites to each other. He started it when he hit me back. Great. That's a fun way to, like, I already have a powerful unit. You can guarantee you can take them out without them be able to, like, add other units to the thing. So again, like, if I had a my 8, like we went earlier example, I had an 8 and they had 2 5s. So instead of me attacking them, and also now they have a 10, and I have to try and buff my character, but I could just go straight my 8 defeats one of their 5s. Now I would still be down for that turn. He'd be down to 3 health or might, so I wouldn't want to attack with him again, but it could be a way to guarantee of taking him out without losing my guy. 2 copies of United Stand. We have a hidden card. Action, buff a friendly unit. Buffs giving additional +1 to friendly units this turn. Nice. So it's like green and orange combination is going to be buffing. Our purple and red had stuff to do with discarding or playing guys from the trash. They kind of work together that way. Putting cards in the discard pile, and then be able to use cards in the discard pile. And here it looks like we're having stuff with buffing to buff up their attack. And then we're going to have cards like this. 3 copies of Stalwart Poro, which has shield. So he gets +1 while defending. It suits him. So again, upping your might. Because again, your might is your attack, it's your defense, it's your health, it's all at once. So having something like that's nice. We have 3 copies of Pit Rookie. When you play me, buff another friendly unit. If it does not have a buff, it gets a +1. Kind of wish they had little counters in here for that, for how much are going to happen. 3 copies of Wielder of Water. When I'm attacking or defending alone, I have +2. And you can still buff him up, it gets him an extra 1. We have 3 copies of First Mate. When you play me, ready another unit. It's a boarding party, try to have some fun with it. 2 copies of Paka Cub, which has hidden. That's neat. So we can have hidden creatures as well. So you can come face down and then later you can pop it up. But again, what's neat about that is a hidden mechanic. It's kind of neat. You place it face down, your opponent's not going to know if you're going to be popping out this creature or unit that can attack or defend, or if you're going to be popping out that buff card we saw earlier. So having multiple hidden cards can be really cool. And the fact that it can be on anything definitely helps your opponent not be able to easily just be like, oh yeah, that's what they have. It's so cute. Common last words. 2 copies of Bilgewater Bully. Well, I'm buffed. I have ganking. Places to go, people to gank. That was a little bit when they use video game terms. Stormclaw Ursine. Tank. I must be assigned combat damage first. When you play me, I channel one ruin exhausted. The Ursine speak for man. The wild responds. So yeah, Tank is a fun ability, because then basically, so now, if I attack with this, and let's say a 2 might unit, and I have 8, they have to deal 6 damage to him first, and then if there's anything left over, they can then put that back onto the other guy, but they always have to deal it to him first. So channel says, you must channel 1 ruin. Take the top ruins of your deck and place them on the board. You channel 2 ruins at the start of each turn. So what this is also doing is when you play them, you get to put 1 extra one in play. But you can't use it this turn. Alright, then we have 3 copies of Wild Claw Shaman. When you play me, you may spend a buff to buff me and ready me. When you play me, you may spend a buff to ready me and buff. Okay, cool. So when you play him, you can spend somebody else's buff to instead buff him up and then ready him. Interesting. Just cool. We have 3 copies of Wizened Elder. While I'm buffed, I have an additional +1 might. I'm still fighting at my age. That should concern you more than it does. 2 copies of Mountain Drake. After centuries spent trying to understand dragon behavior research, and agree on one thing: if you're seeing behavior up close, run. 9 cost, but then it also costs, it does 10 mites. It's definitely going to do some damage there. We have 3 copies of Discipline Reaction. Give a unit +2 might this turn, draw 1 card. The blade is only as sharp as the one who wields it. The Mask of Foresight. When a friendly unit attacks or defends alone, give it +1 attack this turn. So that worked really well with that one other guy, but there's a lot of guys in here that work very well by themselves. Then we have some tokens. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tokens, which are recruits. They cost 1, and they give you the other feature. But that's not what we cared about. What we like is the other side, which is what I just said. I was surprised they didn't have something. They did. We have buff tokens. You may have no more than 1 buff token at a time. So yeah, then you can just add this to your guys. So it's like if I play them, I can just put a buff token underneath them, and I know I have +1 right there. So that's really fun that they added that, as opposed to just expecting you to have stuff. And then we have a bunch of units in case we have something that creates units. I'm guessing that's probably what the other deck is going to do. Then we have our battlefields. So we have the Monastery of Harana. When you conquer here, you may spend a buff to draw 1. So this is very cool, because this one is going to be super beneficial in this deck, but it would be completely useless in the other deck because we have no buffs on that deck. When you conquer here, ready 2 ruins at the end of turn. So Targon's Peak, which we saw in the other one. It's a very unique one. It's the only crossover card. And then Groves of the God Willow. When you hold here, draw a card. So as long as you keep controlling that area, you get an additional card. Very neat. Yeah, I like the first deck having the discarding, drawing mechanics. This one having the whole buffing thing is really neat. It definitely makes it very interesting to see what this last deck is going to do. So we have Vitor, who's the yellow and blue. So if I had to guess, I'm going to say this is going to do one of 2 things. I'm going to guess that yellow is probably going to, what's obvious, it's like a healing thing, it's probably going to be life gaining. Although there's no life, because you don't have a full life total. So I wonder if it's going to have ways to, try to think how they would implement life into this game. Maybe like shields, like giving you extra shields, or be able to somehow replace your might before the end of the round, so you could attack multiple times. Not sure. I guess blue is typically like your card manipulation, so it might have more stuff with. We've dealt with our discard pile and our trash, and discarding and playing stuff to our hand and drawing cards. We boost up our creatures and be able to spend them boosts. And I'm guessing this is gonna probably have something to do with manipulating your opponent's deck or the field, is my assumption. So we do have the Mind Ruin, which definitely wants to seem to play towards that. And then we'll have the Order Ruin, and we have 6 of each of those. So Mentals and Judgment. Alright, what do we got here? Vitor, Herald of the Arcane. Pay 1 and exert. Play a +1 recruit unit token. Okay, cool. So we're gonna get them unit tokens. That's also wonderful. We're gonna get a bunch of white, like white in most games, or yellow tends to be like a soldiery group. So we're gonna get a bunch of soldiers in here. We have a Victor Innovator. When you play a card to an opponent's on your opponent's turn, play a 1 might recruit token on your base. Nice. Just having a bunch of minor guys is not a bad thing. Hermandigger, Inventor. I have all exhaust abilities of all friendly legends, units, and gears. What? That's crazy. For a 3 cost? So, like, right off the bat, like, there's our legend. He can do this ability whenever he wants. That's crazy. We have Grand Stratagem. Action. Give a friendly unit 5 this turn. You gotta understand the plan. Only believe it. I wonder if we're gonna stop with Mighty in here. We haven't seen that. Or Stunning. Now look at this though. It costs me 3 ruins to play this. But it gives all my units +5 for the end of the turn. So that's nuts. We haven't seen it. I don't think we've seen any in the other decks that cost that much. I wasn't really paying that close of attention. But I think so far everything else has been mainly just 1. Even more interesting, you know, I'm going to just back up here just for a sec. I'm going to look at the last deck here. So in the last deck, we only had 1 card here. This one right here that cost an extra ruin to set in that one. So we had 2 cards that sacrificed, you had to recycle your ruins to be able to play it. So this one you're just generating stuff every turn. If we jump back into the Jinx deck, a lot of their cards you had to keep paying a cost to play them. Not all of them, but there was enough of them, right? That I noticed. I just assumed that was going to be a fairly common thing. I didn't even notice it for the last one. You know, this one instead has a very hefty cost to it. So very, very cool. I love some of the different mechanics. The Wraith of Echoes. First time a friendly unit dies each turn, draw a card. Hey, great, because you have all them little tiny ones you're throwing out there. 2 copies of Orb of Regret. Exert, give a friendly unit -1 this turn to a minimum of 1. Not friendly, give it any unit 1. Nice. Every time it's out, just every turn, just pay that, reduce one of their things down 1 if they have a... unfortunately, you can't get rid of them, so if they have a unit, like a 1 cost unit, you can't get rid of them. 2 Stupefies. Reaction, give a unit -1 this turn to a minimum 1, draw a card. That's how we're manipulating everything. Instead of buffing your characters, you're reducing your opponents. 3 copies of Cull the Weak. Each player kills one of their units. What good is having a plank if nobody's ever walked it? 2 copies of Hidden Blade. Hidden in action. Kill a unit of the battlefield. Its controller draws 2. Not even Noxian Decree is read aloud. So, blue is all about... I thought it was going to be about manipulating the battlefield or things. It's all about just reducing your opponents. And limiting what they have by reducing their attacks and stuff, their might. White, or not white, not really, yellow, I guess, just seems all about, like, straight up, like, I'm just going to eliminate things. Just get rid of them, or I'm going to do big buffs to everything. We have 2 smoke screens. Give you -4 this turn to a minimum of 1. Well, what have we here? I like it doesn't always straight up destroy them. They're cheaper because it won't defeat them. 2 copies of Back-to-Back. Reaction, give 2 friendly units +2 might this turn. Fight together or die alone. 2 copies of Sprite Call, which is another hidden. Action, play 3 ready Sprite tokens with a temporary. Ooh, that's fun. So you gotta play a bigger unit, but they're only gonna last till the end of your turn. Or the beginning of your turn, rather. 2 copies of Consult the Past, another hidden. And reaction, draw 2 cards. Again, manipulating things. 3 copies of Soaring Scout. His Death Knell, Channel 1, Ruin, Exhausted. So if it does die, you get an energy out of it. Resource. 3 copies of Eager Apprentice. While I'm at a battlefield, the energy cost for your spells you play is reduced by 1. As long as these 37 things for it, it'll work every time. That's fun. Right? Making all your stuff cheaper. Cool. 3 copies of Cruel Patron. As an additional cost to play me, kill a friendly unit. Okay. Not bad, though. Failure is a duty, not a choice, because you always get rid of them 1 units you've created. We have 2 copies of Jeweled Colossus. I'm missing a battlefield. There it is. It was hiding. Mountain Targon. Vision. When you play me with the top card of your main deck, you may recycle it. Cool, new ability, and then Shield. Definitely neat. 2 copies of Mushroom Pouch. At the start of your beginning phase, if you control a face-down card of the battlefield, draw 1 card. A Bangle Scout is always prepared. Ooh, so if you keep your card, the longer you keep it hidden, the more cards you draw. That's kind of neat. 3 copies of Raven Bloom Student. When you play a spell, give me +1 might this turn. A little knowledge is a dangerous thing. A lot of knowledge is awesome. Then we have 3 copies of Noxian Drummers. When I move to the battlefield, play a 1 recruit token here. It is also at the battlefield. Even though the Legionnaires Musicians are hard to beat. Nice, you play straight to the battlefield to help her out. Cool. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 more of those recruit unit tokens. As well as on the back side, they're going to be buff, which don't help us in this deck. But down the other ones, we have 2 copies of the Sprite, the face, as the temporary, and as the 3 attack. And then on the other side, it's just more buffs. Kind of wish it was like a different thing, but I guess there's no buff extra. Very cool. Alright. A -1 would have been kind of neat just to show that off. Alright, we have an Altar to Unity. When you hold here, play 1 recruit token at your base. Just to kind of be using any deck, so that's pretty cool. The Trifarian War Camp. All units here have +1 might. This includes attackers, just making everybody stronger. It might be like, what's the point of that, right? If everybody has 1 more, because it's also attack, is also health. But it could be, again, the difference between, it could be a lot of differences here. It could be, you just end up having that 1 extra point you needed to be able to help defeat somebody else. Yeah, theirs goes up 1, too, but then now you could play a -1 on theirs, or something like that, Could be interesting. Even just making a bunch of your units for 2s could be very helpful. Because also when they declare damage, you have to deal all damage to 1 thing first before you can do it to another. So if you had 2 4/4s, again, your opponent had an 8, that's enough for them to take out both. But now they have a 9 versus you having 2 5s. So before, they could have taken out 4 and then done 4 and beat both of them and sacrificed their guy. But now, since they have a 9 and you have 2 5s, they can do 5 to 1, 4 to the other. So right there, even though you might have boosted up your opponents, they're now only going to have enough damage to be able to take out 1 of your guys. So very cool. Here you have the Grand Plaza. When you hold here, if you have 7+ units here, you win the game. That's neat as well. Dropping a bunch of them guys. Alright, so that's pretty cool. Those are our 3 different decks. So up next we're going to look at the booster packs. I do not know how these are sorted in here. Or anything like that, so I don't know how there's, how they are for, like, commons, uncommons, rares, stuff like that, if there's anything else. Just going at the back of the box, or pack to see if it says anything else. Does not tell me anything. All it does say is, you must have a minimum of 40 deck, plus 12 ruin cards, 1 champion legend, and 1 battlefield card to play. So you at least have to have that. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look in here. see what we're gonna get. And now we've kind of looked at the decks, we can see kind of, hey, if we think any of these are gonna work. Now I don't know if there's just the 6 colors, or if there's a 7th color, or an 8th color, or again if there's a what am I thinking? A colorless type thing or not, so we're not sure. Alright, so right off the bat, we're going to get one of these. I'm going to click this. So we're going to play a QR code. On the back, it's just going to list a bunch of the different things. So very cool. I also got a token in here. So we got a buff token. And I don't know if you're going to get one of these in every pack or not. But on the other side, we have a recruit. So this is kind of fun because it just looks different than the other recruits we got. Because the other recruits are kind of like robot ones. This is more of a warrior. So that's even neat. I wish the buff picture looked a little bit different too, but it's what it is. But hey, that's kind of neat. Alright, what do we got here? We're going to start off with zoom back in here for you guys. Riptide Rex. When you play me, deal 6 damage to an enemy unit at a battlefield. This one does cost 2. So it's kind of nice. Could be, yeah, again, all of these having one deck, an OG set, the original set, Origins, as it were. Not sure how well all these might work. Again, I can always tell you could throw these in there. But yeah, 6 damage to an enemy unit could be very helpful. Solari Shield Bearer. When you play me, stunning unit doesn't deal combat damage this turn. So we haven't seen any of the stuns before. But hey, this might not be bad. We have another Chem Tech Enforcer we've seen. Side Scout, who has Vision. You may play me to an open battlefield. Oh, that's fun. So normally you can only play guys right to your base or a base that you're controlling. But you can't just play them to any regular one. You have to play them to your base and then move them, which costs you extra actions and stuff to do. But yeah, just going to play them straight there and get to see what's on the thing is pretty nice. Another Soaring Scout, another Pit Rookie, another Gus. So it's kind of the one downside of buying all these decks is around a lot of these duplicates of these cards, but that's alright. Noxious Saboteur. Your opponent's hidden cards can't be revealed here. Ooh, that's fun. These are uncommons here. Scrap Heap. Unless you play, discard, or guild, draw a card. Good to that one. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of our 14 cards were commons. So 1, 2, 3 uncommons. So 10. So our token might be our 14th card because I got 3 more cards in my hand. So it's 7 to 3, and I have 3 rares it looks like. But again, I don't know if this is just a lucky draw or if that's what it's going to be. So we'll have to check the other packs to see how if it's going to be 7, 3, and then 3, or if I just got lucky in this pack. Obelisk of Power. At the start of each player's beginning phase, that player channels 1 ruin. Ooh, that could be pretty fun. Speed the game up a little bit. Alright, so our first rare is we have Tide Turner, who has a hidden. When you play me, may choose a friendly unit, move me to its location, and it to my original location. Oh, neat. So, put him somewhere that you can replace somebody else. So you can bring one of your guys back, or you can send one of your opponents back to their base. That's pretty cool. And then we got another purple here in the Harrowing. Play a unit from your trash ignores its energy cost. You must still pay its power cost. Okay, so that means you can ignore this energy part. You just have to pay the regular cost. That could be pretty neat. I don't think we had a ton of purple with high costs, but if we did get one, that could be very helpful. Then we got this. We got a red or an orange rare, so this must be like a super rare. But we got Yasuo the Wind Rider, a champion unit. So if we did get him as a main guy, we have him. But we got a bunch of purple cards. It's janking. The third time I move in a turn, you score 1 point. Interesting. So he can move multiple times. That's pretty cool. So if you move an enemy, move to battlefield, enemy combat starts. Okay, so move one or more of your units to or from a battlefield, exhausting them. So you have to find some way to unexhaust him to move him again. I was like, why couldn't you just do this multiple times, right? But yeah, he can move from one if he can find a way to unexhaust him. He can move a second time and a third time. It's also a cool full art card too, so that's pretty neat. Or like more fuller art, takes up the top of the border. Very, very cool. Alright, so pack number 2. Let me drop these down. So if we go from the back again, we have a thing there. Then we do have a Steps of Combat, which is always helpful to get. We do have, instead of a unit card, we do have a Ruin. So this isn't even terrible to begin with. It's the exact same Ruin from the other blue deck. I don't believe it looks any different. Nope. Same artwork, everything else. You know, same card number and all that. But again, like, if right now I want to make a deck and I want to lean it more towards one color, I don't have any more things to get to buy a bunch of booster packs. It's probably cheaper than me buying 2 of the same boxes. Alright, let's see what we got here. We got Riptide Rex, Clockwork Keeper. If you play me, you may pay an additional green as an additional cost if you do draw a card. It always goes back for seconds. I like being able to spend extra like resources to do additional things. Legion, I cost 2 less. Get this effect if you play another card this turn. Okay, so that's a cool ability as well. So as long as you play another card this turn, doesn't even care if it's a unit or a spell. They cost 2 less. That's kind of nice. First to the front, first to glory. Another Eager Apprentice. Another Hidden Blade. Blades of Fury. Reaction. Deal 1 damage to all units at all battlefields. So right, place at the beginning of the turn, weaken everybody, right? Now they're all weaker, so you have to decide whether they want to attack or not. Or place after all the combat. Oh, I played something. My guy survived with 1, and then go ahead and do this to all of them. Violence solves everything. We have a Rebuke. Return a unit to a battlefield to its owner's hand. Does cost 2, but bouncing someone whenever you need to is definitely helpful. Our uncommons, we have Treasure Trove. When this leaves the board, draw 1 card and channel 1 Ruin. Pay a purple and then kill this. We're going to be rich. So you just kind of sit out there until you need to do that. Very cool. Raging Soul. If you discard a card this turn, I have a Sultan Ganking. I think we've seen him before. And then our other rare is Symbol of the Solari. If a combat where you are the attacker ends in a tie, recall all units instead. Send them back to the base. This isn't a move. Ties are calculated after combat damage is dealt. So after combat damage is dealt, if it's a tie, if anything is left on the field. So it could be like, I have 4 guys and they have 2. I take out 1 of theirs and they take out 3 of mine. We still have 1 each. Everyone goes back. So they don't get to claim their guy. I don't get to claim it. Very cool. Alright, so then what we have is we have 3 more cards. One is a foil. So I'm guessing it's just a foil uncommon, or it might be a foil anything. So it's hard to know like what one that was for me. I think the other ones were actually rare, so I think I just got that extra rare one instead. We have Imperial Decree. When a unit takes damage this turn, kill it. Oh, nice. That's pretty cool. And then our regular, or better, super rares, I guess, or our rares. We have the Maddened Marauder. Who has tank, and when you play me, move a unit from a battlefield to its base. They know no fear, nor much of anything else, really. And then the last one we have is a new champion unit with Caitlyn patrolling. I must be assigned combat damage last. So it kind of works as like an opposite of a tank. Exert, deal damage equal to my might to a unit at a battlefield. Use the ability only when I'm on a battlefield. But it doesn't say it has to be the battlefield she's on. It has to be on the battlefield, and she can shoot, take out somebody else. And yeah, if you can pump her up with a buff or another spell, that could be pretty cool. Awesome. Let's check out our third order. It'd be really neat if I got a champion, though, or a legend. We have another charm. We have Sky Splitter. This spell's energy costs are reduced by the highest might among units you control. Deal 5 to a unit at a battlefield. It's reduced by the highest might. Neat. So it is 8. Well, you could potentially drop this all the way down to free, except for the energy cost. That's cool. Another Riptide Rex. They really wanted me to have those. Clockwork Keeper. Dune Drake. And I attack, give me +2 might if there's already an enemy unit here. Dragon's Hunt, not just for food, but for the thrill of it. Mystic Poro, who has a vision. I have a bunch of little minifigures of these Poros. Which is always busy. Forecast sunny with a chance of snacks. There's another one. We have a Daring Poro who has Assault 1, +1 might while I'm an attacker. Stack deck. The top 3 cards of the main deck, pull 1 from your hand, and then recycle the rest. Interesting. So you gotta basically pick one. Cool. We have a new battlefield, Vilemaw's Lair. Units can't move from here to base. Ooh, so once they get there, they're stuck there until they're defeated. Cool. We have Facebreaker, Hidden, action, stun a friendly unit and enemy the same battlefield. Okay, cool. So instead of having them deal damage to each other, you just stun 2 of them. We have a foil version of our Terrifian War Camp. So yeah, we get... So it looks like 7 commons, 3 uncommons, a foil, which could be replaced by a higher level rare. And then we did get a legend. Unfortunately, our legend is Victor. Which is the one we already had in the deck, but I guess, of course, it makes sense for them to do that. So is there any difference between these? Like, foil-wise or anything? Nope. They look like the exact same. So, interesting to know that the one that's in the deck has no difference than the one that you could pull from a pack. And then, along with that, we have another Olgar, Wild Champion, so we could get a second one of him. But you can always include multiple of these guys in your deck, so it's not a big deal. Our token is a Recruit buff. And then we just got the Steps of Combat. So, awesome. Alright, so it's a very long video, but that was Riftbound, League of Legends. So we have 40 card deck. I had just about as many cards in my 3 booster packs. Yeah, we got a couple I could see we could add in this. Again, it'd be cool if we got some different champions or different legends, so I could have seen what a different, an idea of how you want to build a different deck. Like, oh, it made sense to mix like yellow and green or purple with blue or something. But without having that champion, or that legend card, sorry, that legend to set that deck order, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. I only got 1 extra rune. So yeah, very, very interesting to see what else they have for this. I believe they're already spoiling set 2. So very cool. Again, I don't know League of Legends, but I do like card games. I like seeing the different things you can do with them. There's some really unique stuff in here. I was kind of disappointed with the rule book a little bit. I know it's not technically a starter deck, it's called a champion deck. But the rules, some of the things, if you've never played another card game, Magic, Loricana, whatever, it's going to be very struggling to figure out how to play this game. I actually looked it up online, and I found a Reddit post. The guy breaks down step by step for combat and stuff like that, which is super helpful. But otherwise, yeah, it's the instruction book left me a little underwhelmed, even for knowing how to play it. I still had some questions. But yeah, the rest of the cards seem really cool. Maybe I'll pick up some extra packs of these if I can find them. When I bought these, they only had the decks at the time. See you guys later. Bye.